Today's story is not the story from last Sunday. It has the similarity of one of the women pouring perfume on the feet of Jesus. But last Sunday was about a sinful woman who had come to a lunch uninvited and was so grieved over Jesus being put aside that she cried great tears to clean his feet, dried his feet with her hair, and then anointed him with the oil that she had brought. But this Sunday is all about Mary and Martha and Lazarus, the two sisters and brother. And this takes place after Lazarus has been raised from the dead. So it's a celebration, it's a party. It's a time when the whole family is gathering and friends, and they've invited Jesus as the special guest. And they are there in Mary and Martha and Lazarus' house now, having this time together. Why was Mary desperate? Well, I believe that Mary was desperate because she needed to say thank you in a real and powerful and large way. Her brother had just been raised from the dead when she thought all was lost. Her brother now sat with her in the living room. The man who raised him from the dead was sitting there with him, and she threw the party as a way of saying thank you, but it just wasn't enough. Have you ever felt like you needed to say thank you to somebody and you couldn't figure out how to say it? Because whatever way you thought of or came up with just didn't seem to be enough in relationship to what that person had given to you. Growing up, many of us had a teacher that took us under their wing and kind of steered us through the things that we never would have known about. Or maybe some of us had a boss that gave us a great start, or an officer in the military, probably as the DI if you were enlisted, that gave you a good start. Maybe it was a friend that introduced you to your spouse. There are all sorts of reasons why we might be thankful and have a great amount of thanksgiving, not just a little bit. So how did you do it? When you went to say thanks to the person that was the most meaningful, can you think back to that person? Who was that person in your life that you have been the most thankful for all of your life? How did you say thanks? Was it just a verbal thank you? Many times that's all that we can do. But sometimes words are not enough, are they? And so we go to buying a card, a special card that has a special message. Or we give a gift. So many different ways to say thank you. And this was Mary's way of saying thank you to Jesus. She took the oil that she had, the expensive perfume that was saved for burial, and she poured it on Jesus' feet. Her great way of saying thank you. You know, when you have a great appreciation, that great appreciation is usually shown in extravagant gifts. And that's what Mary gave Jesus that day. An extravagant gift. A gift that was worth a year's salary. That 300 denarii was about what a person would make in a year's time back in those days. And so Mary had given to Jesus basically a year's salary, or a part of it. But you know, the extravagance of the gift doesn't matter how big it is. The widow, when she gave her 2 mites, if you remember that story, Jesus said she gave more than anybody else that they saw that day. So the amount does not matter. It's not the size that matters. It's the gratitude of the heart that leads to whatever extravagant gift we might see that day. I read a story about a missionary surgeon who used to fly over to Africa for several weeks at a time. And one day he had a gentleman come into the hospital that was deathly sick of appendicitis. And had he not gotten there in time, he would have died. But he did get there in time, and the surgeon was able to help him live again, to take out the appendix and clean out all of the infection. And he healed a woman's husband. And he didn't think much about it because it was just part of what he did when he was over there. But several days later, the wife showed back up to the clinic. And she brought with her a rabbit and 2 chickens so that she could give those to the doctor as a way of saying thank you. Now that might not sound like a really big deal. Probably to the doctor it wasn't. But this was all she had. The chickens were what she gathered eggs from. The rabbit was something that she had been raising so that they might have a great meal one day. And she brought all she had to say thank you to the doctor. I've heard of other stories recently where some of our armed servicemen would be coming back from Iraq or Afghanistan now, and they would get on the plane and be going back to the coach, and somebody in first class would stand up and offer them their seat because they were grateful. And that person from first class went back and sat in coach. And it was just a simple way of saying to the young men, thank you for doing what you're doing. You see, it may not have seemed like an extravagant gift to the man that stood up and went to sit in coach, but it sure was an extravagant gift to that private that got to sit in first class, probably for the first and maybe the last time in his life. All the people in these stories had one thing in common. They were grateful. Worldly people do not understand this heart of gratitude that Christians have. We have a heart of gratitude that has been given to us by the Holy Spirit that dwells within us. Judas didn't understand it. Judas got on Mary's case for spilling out all of the perfume when it could have been spent and gone into the purse for worldly reasons. Judas didn't understand Mary's heart. Worldly people do not understand the heart of gratitude because worldly people have a self-centered heart. It's all about them. Now I can say that because I used to be a worldly person. And it was all about me. Everything in my life was all about me. I liked to receive gifts, but I very rarely said thank you. I focused on the gift and what it meant to me rather than on the giver and what it meant to them. But I've learned a lot from Susan over the years. I've learned how to express my thanksgiving to whatever it is that people give, because I have no idea how extravagant the gift is to them. Had I received the widow's mites, I might have been very, oh well, thank you very much. Not realizing that it was the last of what she had. So Susan has taught me to look past the gift and to see the giver and to express my thanks to the people that are expressing their gratitude.